I think Fnatic now sit at like a turning point where either they become the Fnatic that they were before, where they have these new exciting players or exciting changes at least to the team. Adam is a very exciting player, and they
Hmm.
become a powerhouse in Europe once again, or we see a collapse.
Hi everyone, this is
Right.
Tom reporting from the LEC Summer Split. Yes, it's finally back after months of absence, and joining me to talk about everything we can expect from the opening weekend and from the weeks afterwards as well is caster Medic. Medic, how have you been doing so far?
Yeah, I mean, it's saying that I'm going to talk about everything we can expect when the off season has been as crazy it has been. Maybe is overselling me a little bit. I've been good. Time since MSI has been fun to just relax and do some other stuff. So got really into Trackmania. I now go
Yup.
fast with the cars, and hopefully I'll get to cast our teams, sprinting it down as well in League of
Yeah.
Legends. So.
Did you get a lot of rest even like, with MSI in the mix? Did you find opportunities to calm down and soak up everything that has happened?
I think rest is kind of a weird concept right now.
Mm.
Like I had some time at home alone where I got to relax, but my time is at home alone most of the time anyway, right? So yeah,
Right.
I feel rested if not recuperated.
Okay, well, it's good to hear. And as you said earlier, the offseason was pretty crazy. I think only 4 teams remain untouched in terms of their player roster. And 6 of them have made changes ranging from, okay, that's a change, to throwing everything overboard and starting from scratch. When you're casting things like MSI and these things start coming out, is that already something you can focus on and digest and take in, or is it something, okay, we're saving that for after MSI, and and now we got to focus on casting first?
I think most of it has just been it was just fun at the time, right? Like
Mm.
Brippo moving to jungle, cool. That sounds fun. Like what how do you analyze that, right?
Yeah.
Like how do you comprehend that as a change? So right now, like this week is more diving in and thinking a bit more about the
Mm.
details. But a lot of these changes, we're really not going to know what impact they have until we see the teams play, right?
Right.
Like we've never got to see Treats in the jungle. We've never got to see Brippo in the jungle. We don't know what Jez's looks like after being away from League of Legends for 3 years, or being away from playing League of Legends for
Hmm.
3 years. So like you've got all of these crazy things happening, and I mean it makes the league more exciting, which is always fun. But I didn't really think about it at MSI. I haven't really thought about League since the end of MSI. I'll be
Yeah.
honest. It's quite nice to take a break.
Yeah, yeah, obviously. Now, looking at the scope of all these changes, you mentioned the Bwipo change to jungle, obviously, with a big team like Fnatic, that's something that stands out. A last moment change from SK as well, seemingly, with things. Are there any of them that stand out particularly, that you thought, okay, wow, I never in a million years would have guessed that this would have happened?
I mean, I think the Whipple one is the one. Like, it's the one that automatically comes to your lips because it's like,
Mm-hmm.
firstly, you had Selfmade. He's a very good jungler. Why are you getting rid of Selfmade? Secondly, why is Bwipo now becoming a jungler when there are junglers? Like we watched EU Masters. There are good junglers out there.
Mm-hmm.
And thirdly, like Adam is a great player, but he is very new to
Mm-hmm.
like high tier competitive League of Legends, and it feels like a lot of weight to put on his shoulders when he follows in the footsteps of Boaz and Bwipo, right? Like two of the best top laners historically in Europe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that whole Fnatic, whatever is going on there, seems huge. Apart from that, the SK changes seem really big, and of course, them losing Blue for this week is
Mm-hmm.
is sad for them because I assume that they scrimmed and practiced with Blue in the team, but hopefully he'll be able to return to play pretty soon, and we'll get to see how that roster really shapes up.
Mm-hmm.
Because with jungle being where it is, I can understand people saying I want to go to the jungle because a lot of it is understanding the map and knowing when to gank, and there's a lot of team fights, right? Which if you've played any other role, you can team fight pretty well because you have to team fight.
Mm-hmm.
But I really worry for these teams if jungle changes again and it becomes less about team fighting and more about pressuring specific parts of the map and getting your gank timings down. Like
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
I, I think you could really struggle, right?
Right. And taking it step by step, the Fnatic one, I think, is the one that had the biggest, uh, I guess, outcry from the community. It
Yeah.
was like, what the hell is happening here? As somebody who has followed the team and European League of Legends for quite a while now, what do you make of these? Is there anything that you can um, I guess, happened, or how do you view a change like this as somebody who has been around all these teams for so long?
Um, I don't want to speculate on like the inner workings of a team, right? And so I'll leave that part of the question aside as much as I can in answering it. There's always the idea that that team synergy is really important. Having control over the like how your players interact with each other is really important. Maybe something was going on there, but the change in and of itself is, I mean, it's ludicrous if you look at it from the outside, right? Like, why on earth are you doing this, Fnatic? But I think Fnatic now sit at like a turning point where either they become the Fnatic that they were before, where they have these new exciting players or exciting changes at least to the team. Adam is a very exciting player, and they become a powerhouse in Europe once again. Or we see a collapse. Like we saw it happen with CLG, where they were one of the biggest names in the LCS, and then poor roster decision, whatever, after poor roster decision just led to them now being bottom of the table. And if this doesn't work for Fnatic, and I've heard rumors it is going very well for them, but if this doesn't work, you could see it slowly declining piece by piece.
Yeah, and moving on from them to a team like SK Gaming, who made changes despite, I would say that the positive surprise in the spring split, where they had 4 new people coming into the team, already making it to playoffs, had a pretty good streak in the split as well, performing very well. What were your first thoughts when you saw them? Treats to the jungle as well. Then Jesse stepping in from a coaching role. I saw some criticism on Reddit, like, "Oh, he's inserting himself into a team again." I'm not. I'm confident that they tried to make the changes as best as possible, right? But it's still one of these things that you're like, "Wow, I never would have guessed that this would have happened."
I agree with that. I think the SK1, if you take out the fact that they removed Tinks, or Tinks left, right? If you remove that from the equation and the reasons behind that from the equation, I can kind of understand more of the SK change, because Treats is a very strong map player. We've seen it from the amount of times he found crazy engages on the Alistair engage is one that springs to mind, right? He understands the map. He understands how to play around vision later on in the game. So him moving to jungle, although it's weird, isn't a huge shock, right? And then the introduction of Jesus is more of a, hey, we've got 4 weeks in the middle of these 2 seasons to try and find someone that fits into our team, or we have a coach that has played in a Worlds quarterfinal before, is a strong support, and can already fit into the nuances and the spirit of our team. So although I disagree with it, and I think just find yourself a jungler and find yourself just find yourself a jungler, because if Trees doesn't move, you don't have to find a support. I understand more of the nuance behind that one, in the fact that you have a short period of time here. And my expectation is coming into summer, right? Coming into next year, SK find themselves a new jungler and Trees goes back to support, right? Like that.
Yeah, I think I saw an interview with him as well, where he said, "I do not expect to stay in the jungle role for a very long time." No, that's definitely fair. We skip to Vitality, who is completely rebuilding almost. Only Labrov is staying in the support role. Crownshot was obviously already there, but he came in during the spring split. New mid, new jungle, new top, new coaching staff as well. So how does this strike you? Because Vitality obviously did disappoint last year summer, this year spring as well, with that same roster they were trying to keep. Is that something that, how do you feel about a mid-season change that's so rigorous like this?
It is quite a drastic change. And mid-season, like as you say, we don't usually see this sort of change mid-season. I guess the argument is, if you're going to do it, why not just do it mid-season? It can't get any worse than 10th, 9th, 10th, I think, of their last 3 finishes, right? So it can't get any worse. Why don't we just change things? And maybe there was the opportunity of, hey, we could get Selfmade in now. He wants to leave Fnatic. Let's do it before his contract expires, right? And so I understand that change. I mean, you look at this team from the outside, it's so explosive, right? You have a lot of big personalities. You've got a lot of people whose voices are quite loud in a team atmosphere. And the concern has to be that if things start going downhill, maybe they snowball downhill because of that, right? However, all of these players are very talented. All of these players are like Selfmade, incredibly strong jungler. Leader, he's one of the best like assassin mid laners in Europe, if not the best.
Which are now pretty good apparently.
Exactly. They're very much in meta, right? So Vitality feels very much like a team that could be explosive and could really challenge the top three. Top three, I would be Mad, Rogue, G2 for me still. But they also feel like a team that a couple of bad weeks, a bad run of form, or even a change in the meta could really affect them. I know a lot of people talk about Leaders Champion Pool and say it's quite small. I don't think it's small. I just think it's quite melee based. And that can be an issue when you go back to the Corki Azir meta, right? Because we haven't seen a huge amount of leader on Corki Azir. So.
Yeah, and if you look back at other rosters that have made changes over the year, do you think that when you look at the players as well, combined with this Vitality roster, had like I'm trying to kind of gauge like how successful you think they're gonna be, because which is obviously a very difficult question to ask because there's so many new factors. But they are players that have played in ERLs for a long time, and they are names that have appeared before. Obviously, Selfmade stands out as a Worlds appearance, jungler, phenomenal performance. So, how do you feel about this Vitality roster? When you just look at them and you say, okay, maybe this is back to the Vitality glory days when they made Worlds, or is it, okay, we're probably going to need another spring split for them to kind of get them there?
I'll give them middle of the pack as a kind sort of suggestion. I think they could be top three. Like if everything aligns and everything clicks, and this was a spring split, I would have high hopes for this team. Like if they had the time to like develop and grow together. And I know like Selfmade and Crownshot have played together before when they were on Mad Lions. I think Leaders played with them before as well. So there are previous times when they built synergy, but. Without that extra time to prep and that extra time to understand each other, I worry that a few bad performances will start them rolling down a hill, right? So I will go. They fall in the bucket below Mad, Rogue, and G2 to me. We'll say B tier.
Yeah, just below there, but
fifth or sixth. Fifth or sixth is my expectation.
Right? All right. Now, the final single team I want to highlight is XL, who made changes without, like they've never made playoffs before during their stay in the LEC. There's obviously a goal they want to achieve now, and apparently that needed to be removing Chocolate from the mid lane and removing Tori from the support role and filling it with Nuke Duck, he's back again, and Danik in the support role. XL got a lot of shit on social media for especially the Chocolate change. I saw a Young Buck explain, I think it was with the Reflections episode with Thorin, Chocolate, he tipped it around a bit, but didn't really want to adjust his champion pool, and during practice also wasn't participating very well. Still, how do you look at these XL changes, and are they gonna make playoffs now? Is this a squad where you look at it and think, yes, finally XL, it took you 6 splits or something like this, but you're there?
In answer to your second question, no, this XL team will not make playoffs. My expectation is they will be probably 8th or 9th, maybe even 10th in the league. The Nuke Duck change, without knowing any of the internal workings, right? And we can only take what Young Buck says as face value there. I still disagree with it. I think Chocolate had much more promise and was, still a relatively young mid laner that was beginning to learn really how to play at the highest level in Europe. So bringing in Nuke Duck, who 5 or 6 years ago was one of the best mid laners in Europe and is very consistent. Like Nuke Duck he's a consistent mid laner, but that doesn't really work in the LEC anymore. Like we have a bunch of pop-off mid laners. You get Leader, Caps, Magic Felix as well, who can pop off. Humanoid, VTO, like all of these guys. Like
Larson can pop off as well. Yeah.
Larson, yeah. Holy.
Yeah.
Larson's incredible as well. Like you look through every other mid lane and you say, hey, that guy can carry his team. And these days I don't see that from Nuke Duck anymore. And maybe he can prove us all wrong, right? Maybe it can be the year of the duck all over again. But until he starts really carrying, that narrative is dead and buried, and you put some peanut sauce on that duck because you're eating it for dinner, So yeah, that change I disagree with. I think Danik is a strong support, and I think Torre is always someone that people have pointed to and said, hey, he's not having the best of times at the moment. He's struggling. So I don't disagree with that change too much. I don't think Denick is he is an upgrade, but he's not like a 2 or 3 tier upgrade. It's more of like an upward side grade than a full. We've replaced this guy with one of the best in the league.
Right. Now, talking about the LEC as a whole, when changes happen, they can either be for the good for the league, where you're like, okay, wow, this really powers up the league. Sometimes it stays more neutral, other times it drags it down. I'm gonna be honest, I'm very skeptical about the level of play that we're gonna see in the summer split. We saw last summer split as well. It was just mayhem with where 5 teams, I think, until the end could still make top 3 or something like this.
Yeah.
It was crazy. How do you perceive what we're gonna see in the summer split in terms of level of play with these changes, with all these position swaps and last minute additions and removals from the team? Are you optimistic? Do you think that maybe by the end we are going to see a stronger league, or how do you feel this?
I think if you'd asked me before Mad Lions went to MSI, I would have said, if these changes happened by then, I would have said the league's going to generally downgrade. But with Mad Lions performing as well as they did at MSI, and with Rogue going 2-0 up against them in the LEC finals, and with G2, although they struggled in spring, still having the caliber of players that G2 has, I think at least our top end should be strong, if not stronger, than it was in spring. The expectation is, of course, that Mad Lions will bring back learnings from MSI and bring back experience that will help them really challenge. And so the top 3, I think, will be stronger than they were. Coming down from that, though, we may see an initial drop-off, at least in the first few weeks. I think Fnatic, if they do find their form, will probably take a little bit of time to find their form. Vitality the same. And then you're going down to Schalke and Misfits, Astralis, SK. I mean, SK could be good as well. But yeah, overall, none of the changes really screams to me, hey, this team has brought in players that will have an immediate impact. However, some of them have made changes that could make the league as a whole better. But if the question is more aimed at will we still be good at Worlds, I think we'll still be good at Worlds. I think because we have 3 seeds, our top 3 teams look very strong.
Yeah, they are unchanged,
Yeah, exactly. But overall, I could see Summer having a few more happy games, or a few more games where you look at them and you say, hey, this isn't the highest tier of League of Legends, depending on what League of Legends appears to be at the end of the season, right?
And is that something that might impact the level of play from those top 3 teams when you have weaker opponents to play against, that maybe when they go to Worlds they need to, I don't know, get oiled again, get like polish off the rust when playing against these top teams? Or is that something you don't think these teams in particular will affect?
I think it's something we haven't seen too much over the last couple of years. Like last year, you had Fnatic G2, Mad, Rogue, like all of them were kind of reaching up there. Before that, it was Fnatic G2. Before that, it was Fnatic G2. We only had 2 teams, really.
Right.
That were like top echelon, like really world class.
And tossing a random third just there.
Yeah, exactly, right. It was like, putting a Vitality in there, put in someone else, right? And now I really think we have 3 teams that are world class. Like if Rogue had just played slightly better in that 3rd game, they would have beaten Mad Lions, right? And I think they had a good chance at MSI. I think the only team I'm actually worried for out of those 3 is G2, because they really struggled in spring, and you wonder where those issues are coming from, right? But if G2 can play to the caliber we expect from them because of their 6 years of whatever dominance, 6 years, 4 years, however many years they've been really good for.
Yes.
2016 they joined, so 5 years.
5 years now.
Being incredible in League of Legends, then the expectation is they will continue to challenge on the world stage, and having 3 teams that are world class, I think, is enough for a league to continue to improve, or for at least those 3 teams to continue to improve.
All right, Medic. Well, thank you so much for your insights. I'm looking forward to the summer split in general. I think it's going to be pretty crazy, and if I hear you as well, it's going to be quite at least interesting to follow.
It's going to be a fun one.
It's going to be
that.
Yes,
okay? We'll be entertained.
It's going to be a banger. Absolutely. Okay, Medic. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you so much.